All right. So my name is Santiago Suarez Ordoñez. I work at Sauce Labs. Today we're going to be talking about testing in the cloud behind firewalls. Basically, how to access your internal applications and how to contact us in the cloud. So we're going to be going through a brief overview of our cloud architecture. We're going to start with how Selenium remote control and WebDriver's remote driver work. And then we're going to go through Sauce Connect and why it's actually necessary. And then we're going to go a little bit farther and talk about how to make your Selenium requests to the cloud be even more reliable. Then we're just going to jump to a Q&A. So if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to write them in the GoToMeeting questions panel. I'll be happy to answer them all as soon as the webinar is over so that we don't really lose the flow. So let's just get started. First of all, let's give a quick look at Selenium's remote architecture, how it works, and because basically that's the main principle that Sauce Labs uses for running your test in the cloud without really needing you to upload anything or give us control of your scripts at all. So what you can see on the right is a graph of Selenium's architecture. As you can see, there's two separate processes that are involved in a test. One is the black square that you see in the bottom of the image. That is going to be a script that you write in your end. It could be Java, Ruby, Python, Perl, or whichever programming language you prefer to use. That is going to have the Selenium library for your programming language, which is actually going to connect to a separate process. So there's going to be another process called the remote control server. Nowadays, it's better called just the Selenium server. This is another process that you have to start separately from your test. And as soon as you start, it will just be listening on a specific port for instructions. And as soon as your test starts, it will connect to it, and it will start sending browser commands, things like, hey, give me a new browser, give me Firefox. So the remote server will be the one in charge of actually booting up the browser for you and getting it ready. And then the order goes back to the server and then goes back to the script saying, all right, that request completed, give me the next action to do. So the script will just continue with the workflow and say, all right, now you have to open a website. So the script communicates to the remote server, and the remote server is the one that actually takes care of the browser actions. What's great about this architecture is that it allows you to separate the server from the script running, even in different computers. So the regular scenario is that you would just download Selenium Remote Control or the Selenium standalone server, which by the way you can download from seleniumhq.org. And you would just start it with the standard string java-jar selenium server standalone.jar that will boot up this part of the graph. And then you just write your script, and when you start it, all the communication starts back and forth. So the good thing is that you can even download this remote server on any computer that you have access to. So let's say I have a desktop and I have a laptop. I will download Selenium in the desktop and start it. And then I will write my script in my laptop. I will use, let's say, Python. And I will tell my Python script to find the Selenium server in my desktop computer. So basically, this communication will go through the wire. And the protocol used there is HTTP, both in Selenium 1 and 2. Though in Selenium 2, there's a way more defined protocol. It's based on JSON over the wire, JSON over HTTP, and definitely more mature than Selenium 1's protocol. But the important part to know here is that both the server and the browsers are running in a separate thread. than what your script is running on. So you can basically separate both in different machines and everything will work just fine. Now let's move on to Sauce Labs architecture and why that was important. Well, Sauce Labs uses the same architecture, but we plug our service where the Selenium RC server was in the past. What does that mean? Well, the graph keeps being the same, but above this line that you see in the middle and everything from remote control and above, that's everything in the cloud. The only thing that you have to keep and be aware of is the script in your end and the logic about the test. All the instructions will go through the internet to Sauce Labs. The commands will be running in the browser's inner end. Our cloud will return the answer from the browser to your script. So the script actually doesn't even know if it's connecting to Sauce Labs or if it's connecting to a local browser. It doesn't really care. All you have to care about is what the steps for your tests are. The rest you can just leave it to us and we'll just do it for you. So basically in this graph you can see that it may be a little bit confusing that things are switched. Sorry about that. In the top you will see your infrastructure. That's involved. That includes two things. One is what you see on the right that says the test. That is going to be the test script that you write. It's going to be again Python, Ruby, Java, C#, whatever you prefer. And that script is again going to connect through the internet to Sauce Labs. Then it's going to hit a Selenium RC server. Again, the same thing is going to happen. It's going to connect to the browsers and start browsers and kill them and send them instructions back and forth. This is the main communication channel. Your test to Sauce Labs in the cloud. Sauce Labs has browsers somewhere. You don't really care. All you need to know is that every browser command that you send through the wire to Sauce Labs, it's gonna get an answer back, and something in the cloud happened. And of course, it was a real browser running there that is giving you the answers. Now, also, there's another thing you should be aware of, and is that our browsers, to test your application, will need to be able to see it. In the same way you open google.com in your computer, your browser is loading google.com from a web server. The same thing is going to happen here, but it's going to be different than the regular architecture and yourself running this test locally, in the sense that the browsers are now in the cloud. They're not inside your architecture anymore. They're not inside your LAN. So if your web server was really close to your test application and to your browser in the past, now that you're running in the cloud, things are a little bit more complicated because our browsers have to jump the whole internet to actually access your web server and make requests to it and actually test your application. Now, this is where Sauce Connect enters. In a lot of cases, people just have a web application public to the world, so they don't really need to care about our browsers needing some specific access to the application. So if you're testing, let's say something like google.com, I don't really need access to google.com. I already have it. It's completely public. So if you're testing, again, a development version of Sauce Labs, a development version of google.com, something that is not really open in the public, that's where you will need to give our browsers special access to it. And that's where Sauce Connect comes in. So Sauce Connect, if you want to go to the website, the link is in the slides. It's saucelabs.com/docs/sauce-connect. And basically what you will see there is a nice graph of how it works. It's actually a funny graph, but what it does is basically connect our cloud, Sauce OnDemand, to your web server inside your architecture. And the steps are super simple. There's not much to do. All you need to do is just download Sauce Connect from the link in the documentation, extract the zip file, and then start it with a Java command. If you go to our docs and you're logged in, this information will even be filled for you. All you gotta do is just click on the copy button right here. I guess I'm gonna have to change my access key now that you all seen it. But so let's just do it ourselves so that you can see how it works. I just downloaded Sauce Connect already for the sake of brevity. So if I go to downloads, as soon as you extract the zip file, you will see that the files available. Let me show it to you. The files available in this folder are a license, a small text file, and the jar file that you need to run. So to be able to run the jar file, you will have to go into a terminal and cd inside the folder in which Sauce Connect is. So something like cd. In my case, it's going to be this. cd users SSO download Sauce Connect latest. That was already there. Now all you have to do is, again, go to our website, copy the string that we give you to the clipboard, and paste it here. Basically, it runs java-jar sauceconnect.jar, and then it sends your authentication information, your username and access key. So as soon as you hit enter, Sauce Connect will start to boot a machine in our end. This machine is gonna act as the proxy between our browsers and your servers. All the connectivity between, all the information going back and forth through the tunnel that Sauce Connect creates is completely encrypted. And as of the last version of Sauce Connect, all the connections are retried until the other end confirmed that the information got there. This is actually super important. It was a huge problem that some users had, that the internet was sometimes not as reliable as they expected. And basically, every once in a while, a test running in our cloud would try to open a web page and fail. And that was because the internet just failed to route the request that the browser made. This even happens in real life. Sometimes you just open a browser, you just open a website in a browser and the page just fails somewhere. Some asset is missing, maybe the whole page didn't load. And in real life, users just refresh the page and keep going. The problem is that tests for applications are not as smart as that. So if something like that fails, it will make your test fail. And if that happens often enough, if you have thousands of tests in your test suite and maybe 1 in 100,000 loads fail, you will start getting red bills every 10 builds, or every once in a while make your build unreliable. And that's definitely, you definitely don't want that. So what we made with Sauce Connect is to just ensure that the internet is going to be reliable. So every request that the browser will make will be retried and retried until the Sauce Connect script in your end confirms that the request made it, and then the information back is gonna do the same process. So basically, I already started Sauce Connect. As you can see, this is all what's happening. We are booting a new machine in our end for you. It's a dedicated machine to ensure privacy. This machine is going to encrypt the content and send it through the wire to the script that is running right now in my computer. And this is basically going to make the browsers in Sauce Labs see the internet as if they were inside my computer. So for example, let me just show you a brief test. The good thing is that this applies both to Sauce OnDemand and Sauce Scout. So basically, any browser running in Sauce Labs, either manual or automated, will go through the tunnel in the same way. So let's go to saucelabs.com/scout, and I will show you what I'm trying to say. Let's choose google.com, and I'm going to choose Internet Explorer 9. which of course I don't have because I'm on a Mac. So basically now the browser is booting, and from the Sauce Connect log, I will start seeing all the requests that the browser is making to access this website. So as you can see, there's a lot of google.com requests. Actually, google.com is returning a 301, which is a redirect to a different page, which is going to www.google.com, and then that is pointing to google.com.r, and that is because I'm in Argentina right now. So basically, this browser in the cloud is now looking at google.com Argentina as if it was accessing the whole internet through my computer. That's actually what's happening. So this is a brief demonstration, but you can basically use exactly the same thing for Scout or for Sauce OnDemand. All the traffic in our browsers will now go through the tunnel and through Sauce Connect to access the internet. The good thing is that you can do this to access internal applications. So let's say that I have a Rails application running in my computer. I think I have Rails app somewhere here. Let me think. So I'm gonna start a Rails server. This example applies for any type of local application that you could have. It could be a Python web server, it could be a Java, Tomcat. All you need to do is the port in which it's running. So basically, I just started an application in localhost port 3000. So if I go to my browser and I hit localhost 3000, I will see this Rails application made just for me. Again, this is localhost, my local computer. If I was trying to access this from the cloud, of course it wouldn't work because the cloud doesn't have access to my local computer from up there. So once you start Sauce Connect, actually that is not the case anymore. Once you start Sauce Connect, all the traffic in the cloud will go through Sauce Connect. So we will be able to access localhost in the same way I do in my local computer. So let's just give it a shot. Let's do localhost in Internet Explorer 8. Again, you could choose any browser up there. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't depend on the browser. The architecture is set so that any request independently of the browser or the computer or the system that you're using to drive the browsers in a cloud, everything just goes through the tunnel. Oh, my bad. I accessed localhost instead of localhost 3000. Let's now hit the right URL. Okay, so now, as you can see, I'm accessing this local application in localhost 3000. This is a Rails server running in my computer, and I'm just looking at it in the cloud without any kind of configuration. All I had to do is just download Sauce Connect and run that quick command. And as you can see, all the traffic back and forth is outlined here. So that is pretty sweet. Independently of where your application is, all you need to do is just download Sauce Connect and run it. And then if you have automated tests, or if you want to use Sauce Scout, you just hit the URL and everything should work as if you were running the test locally. Now let me show you how an on-demand test works. So I have an example Python script. You can see it here. All I did was downloading it from saucelabs.com. If you go to the documentation, you will see a getting started guide, and we will suggest you a different script depending on the programming language that you choose. So here, basically, I have my authentication information again. Probably gonna have to change that as soon as the webinar is over. Then I'm telling Selenium to find Sauce to find my Selenium server in ondemand.saucelabs.com, port 80. If I was running this locally, this would be localhost 4444. The only change that I'm making is that, hey, my Selenium server is not in localhost anymore. Now my web server is in ondemand.saucelabs.com. And you're going to specify the information about the platform in which you want to run this test. So I'm choosing Firefox 6 and Windows 2003. And I'm going to put a name to it. This is an example test, localhost test. And the fourth parameter is the domain I want to open. In this case, it's going to be localhost 3000 again. Then the browser is going to open login and assert that, I don't remember what the web page was. It's going to assert that login is in the title. So if I now run this example script, it will run on the cloud. As you can see, there's no browser booting in my computer. I don't need to worry about Firefox 6 being installed. I don't really care about that. The browser is going to be in the cloud. All I need to worry is that my script is going to run, and it's going to tell me whether the information was correct or not. And as you can see, the test was correct. In 20 seconds, the whole test run. And if I go to saucelabs.com /jobs, you can just log in and you will see a link to this page. There's gonna load a big table of all the jobs that I run in Sauce Labs, and the last one is the one that says this is an example localhost test. And as you can see, it has loaded the Rails application in localhost. It was able to get the title, and everything worked just fine. So basically, that's how Sauce Connect works and how you can use it to access internal applications easily. Now let's go back to the slides. Now there's one extra little thing you can do with Sauce Connect, and it's actually pretty useful. Turns out, let me go back to the architecture graph. So if you remember this graph, basically it outlined it that there's two main connections between your computer or your environment and Sauce Labs. One is the green thick one that is between your test and Selenium RC. It's the one that sends commands back and forth between the browser and Sauce Labs. Between your script and the browser in Sauce Labs. And the other one is the other connection is between our browsers and the web server. So this is what we are making secure and reliable via Sauce Connect. The problem is that if the internet is flaky, you may even still see problems in here in the green line. So maybe the request from the test script in your end will hit a problem in the internet, and some backbone will fail to route it to Sauce Labs. So that test will fail because it never gets an answer, or it gets an empty answer. You never know. So this happens. This doesn't happen that often, but it actually does every once in a while. Again, if you had tons and tons and tons of scripts, and every script is doing, let's say, 10 or 20 or 100 commands, every command is going to be a request back and forth between your test and Sauce Labs. So if 1 in a million requests has chances to fail, that means that maybe every 1,000 tests, things will fail for you. And if you have a big enough test suite, that means that a lot of your test suites will just break out of the blue, just because you're going through the internet to connect to the browsers. So we have addressed that issue too. And the way we did it is just reusing Sauce Connect for the same thing. Sauce Connect is already making reliable and encrypted connections from our browsers to your web application. So we decided, why not just make it do the same thing the other way around? Why not just ensure that requests from the local machine and the script running there to the cloud are reliable and secure too? So that's basically what it does. The way to use this functionality is to point your test scripts to Sauce Connect. So instead of pointing to saucelabs.com or ondemand.saucelabs.com, I'm just going to point it to 4445 in localhost. This is the port in which Sauce Connect is going to be listening for Selenium commands, and it's basically going to route them to the cloud. So let's just go ahead and run my test and see what happens. So now I'm running my test again. It's not pointing to saucelabs.com, which may sound weird, but now it's pointing to Sauce Connect. The Sauce Connect is being smart enough to route my information through it. And if you look at the script, it passed again without any problems. Everything just worked. But my script was pointing to Sauce Connect, and Sauce Connect was doing the magic of routing all the information. I can't really do a great demo of how it works because I'm doing the webinar, but a good way to ensure how reliable Sauce Connect is to just start a test using it and then just disconnecting your computer from the internet. Just unplug the network cable and let it go offline. That's funny, but if your tests are pointing to Sauce Connect and the browsers are routing all the information through Sauce Connect, everything will just wait for you to reconnect for a little bit. So if you reconnect after doing that, all the commands will reroute and the browser request will reroute and everything will just pass as if nothing happened. So basically that's the main principle in which Sauce Connect works. And so far it's proven to be really reliable. Another good thing you may need to know, or you may want to know, is that Sauce Connect is also doing static file catching. So what that means is that we will only request for static files once in your web server. So if your page has a couple of CSS, a couple of images that you need to load, everything that is not a real HTTP request, we will cache that in our end, so that further requests in the future don't really need to go through the wire and through the tunnel and through the internet to your end to request exactly the same file. So we've found that this boost mode in Sauce Connect, which is now on by default, has improved test speed in between 20 and 40%. So you definitely may want to give it a shot, even if your application is public. Again, it will make everything more reliable, and at the same time, it will cache stuff in your end for you, try to make things faster and making your tests take less time. So I think that is all I wanted to cover in the webinar. Now I would like to hear questions if you guys have one. Again, you can raise your hand or just write the questions in the GoToMeeting chat section. I'll be happy to answer them all. All right, seems like it was either extremely clear or extremely confusing, so that no one has any questions. I'll take it that I was extremely clear, just to be optimistic. I hope you guys learned something useful and that you start. Oh, wait, I see a lot of questions. Oh no, there's just people thanking for the presentation. Happy to hear you guys liked it. Hope you learned something useful and that you start using Sauce Connect to test local applications. So stay tuned and we'll see you in another webinar soon. Thank you.